Hi, this is Kamilah with The Simple Dollar, where we believe that personal finances doesn't have to be complicated. If you're like me and most Americans who have a college degree, you graduated with student loan debt. In fact, 7 out of 10 college students will graduate with over $37,000 in student loan debt, and 19% owe more than $50,000. That number is scary and definitely stressful, and I'm assuming you're watching this video because you have student loan debt and are looking for tips. Well, in this video, I'm going to give you 15 ways to deal with student loan debt. If you find this video helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are working hard to give you personal finance videos to help you on your financial journey. Also, be sure to check out our website, thesimpledollar.com, to see this full article and also to learn so much more about credit cards, student loans, other loans, and other financial topics that can benefit you. So what can you do to deal with your student loan debt? Well, tip number 1 is to take advantage of your grace period. So what that means is that you want to start paying your student loans during your grace period. So when you graduate from college, your student loan provider will typically give you 6 months grace period before you have to start paying off your loans. And during that time, the interest has not started accruing. So you want to start making payments at that point so that 1, you get in the habit of paying off your loans, but then 2, you start knocking off some of that principal and less interest will accrue on your loan, reducing the overall loan balance at the end of your repayment period. So tip number 2 is to understand your loans. And what that means is that when you were 18 and you signed up for your student loans, or 19 or 20, however old you were, you probably weren't looking into it that closely. You probably didn't have a tracker that said, these are all the loans that I have, this is the interest, this is who I owe the money to. You probably just signed the promissory notes and went to school. At least that's what I did. So now that you graduated, you want to make sure that you stop and get a handle on your loans. Find out who all of your loan providers are. Find out which are federal loans, find out which are private loans. Look into the interest rates. See which loans can be deferred or qualified for some type of forgiveness program, but get a real understanding of the types of loans you have and everything that you owe. If you're having trouble locating all of your student loan information, be sure to check out the National Student Loan Data System, where you can get more information about your federal loans or order a copy of your free credit report so that you can see your entire loan history. Okay, so tip number 3 is to choose your best repayment plan. So you really need to decide what makes the most sense for you and your budget, whether it be an income-based payment, whether what you have is fine, or if you need to do some type of temporary deferment because you don't have a job or you just don't have enough money to make any payments. So really study and think, what is going to work the best for my budget? You may also want to consider student loan consolidation, and The Simple Dollar has excellent resources on student loan consolidations, which will be linked in the description box below. So tip number 4 is to continue to live a college lifestyle. So if you're a little bit older, this may be a little bit trickier for you, but if you're still young, you want to think about how you lived when you were in college. For most of us, when we were in college, we definitely didn't have a lot of money, so we just had to make do with what we have. So that really means to keep your expenses low. You may want to get a roommate and not live alone. If you have friends who are doing things like going to fancy brunches and expensive concerts, then you might want to start suggesting free events for you guys to do. Maybe it's a potluck or just things like hanging out at the park so that you can keep your expenses low but still hang out with your friends. If you live in a metropolitan city and can take public transportation, maybe you don't need a car. So think about selling your car if you have one. You definitely want to keep your expenses low so that you have the maximum amount of money to help pay off your student loan debt. So tip number 5 is to stick to a budget. But first, you need to create a budget that's really focused on putting all of your extra income towards your debt. And if you want a full article on how to best create your budget, definitely check out the link below. Simple Dollar has an excellent resource on how to create a monthly budget. So tip number 6 is to make a smart debt repayment plan. I don't know about you, but I definitely had a credit card in college, and when I graduated, I ended up with credit card debt and student loan debt. And so you have to work that credit card repayment plan into your student loan repayment plan to come up with one debt repayment plan. Because when you look at your credit cards, you typically have higher interest rates on that credit card than you do on your student loan. So you just want to make sure that you are coming up with the best strategy to pay the lowest amount of interest and to get out of all of your debt. So tip number 7 is definitely much easier said than done, but that is to earn more money. So if you've just been offered a job and you got your offer letter, make sure that you are getting the right salary and negotiate for a larger salary. So if you're already working and you know you should be earning more money, either it's time to look for a better job or to talk to your boss about a promotion or a salary increase.
I think we should talk about a promotion or a salary increase.
Depending on the type of job you have, this may look like getting overtime or picking up extra shifts. It might also be time to start a side business or get a part-time job to earn more money, but definitely look for ways to earn more money. For me personally, when I was looking to get out of debt, I did things to earn more money. I started looking for better jobs, but then I also did side jobs like tutoring and working at conventions in the registration so that I had extra income towards my debt. So tip number 8 is probably one of my favorites, and that is to deduct your student loan interest. You can reduce your taxable income up to $2,500 on interest paid during the year on your taxes. When I was getting out of debt, every year I made sure to get all of my tax information and hand it off to my tax guy, and he was able to help me get large refunds that I then used to make additional payments on my student loan. So you are doing two things. You are reducing your taxable income so that you can maximize your refund, but then you're also using that refund to help pay off more debt. So that is why it's one of my favorites, because it's basically a double whammy. Tip number 9 is to look for jobs that pay off your debt or offer some other type of student loan forgiveness. There are companies that will help pay off your student loan debt, and thesimpledollar.com has an article with 8 different companies that will do just that. So you might want to consider looking for jobs within those companies, and I'll leave the link to that article in the description box below. But in addition to that, there are other types of jobs that will offer student loan forgiveness. Typically in the public service sector, whether you go into teaching or whether you work in a government agency. But those types of jobs typically require that you work in those agencies or in that profession for at least 10 years and make 10 years of consecutive payments. So think about that when you are looking for your next job. Tip number 10 is to volunteer. There are organizations that need volunteers and will give you money towards your debt in exchange for your service. So I'm thinking about organizations like AmeriCorps or Vista or the Peace Corps. So look into those organizations and see what you can do in terms of student loan forgiveness. Tip number 11 may actually seem a little bit drastic, and that tip is to move. There are some destinations that need young educated professionals and will offer student loan assistance if you are willing to move to their city, state, or country. You may have to agree to work for a specific company, live in a certain neighborhood, or stay for a certain amount of time to qualify for forgiveness. So look into that and see what you can find. But in addition to moving to another location for a specific job, you can also just move to a cheaper apartment, move in with someone and take a roommate, or move closer to your job so that you have a lower commute time and can save money on that commuting expense. You might also want to consider just living in a place with a lower cost of living so that you have more expendable cash to pay towards your student loan debt. Tip number 12 is to sign up for auto debit. Depending on the lender that you have, you may be able to lower your interest rate maybe up to 0.25%. And I know that does not sound like a lot of money, but trust me, over time, 0.25% compounded month over month, year over year will actually add up to a lot of money. So consider doing that. Tip number 13 is to pay your interest during deferment. Now, let's say you had to go on temporary deferment because you're not working or you're just not making enough money to make that full payment. You can make interest-only payments on your loan, and that will help your loan from ballooning out of control. So when you sign up for a temporary deferment, just start making payments that are just going to go towards your interest. Tip number 14 is to enroll in a points program where you can do your online shopping using a link on their portal and earn points every time you shop. You can link your debit card, you can link your credit cards, you can even share the link with your friends and family so that when they shop, you'll still earn points, and you can use those points towards earning cash towards repaying your student loans. If you want to learn more about this, be sure to click on the article link in the description box below. So my last tip, tip number 15, is don't tack on more big debts right away. I know when you graduate college, you are ready to fast forward your life. You want to get married, you want to buy a house, you want to buy a car, but you have this student loan debt that is weighing you down. Think about waiting on some of those purchases. You can wait on buying a house. You may not want to wait on getting married, but you don't need to have the expensive wedding, because right now the average cost of a wedding is about $30,000, and that is just more debt than you need to handle while you're paying off your student loan. So really avoid other big debts that are going to weigh you down while you're paying off your student loan. I really hope you found this video helpful and will use some of the tips I gave. If you did, give this video a thumbs up, and also be sure to leave your own tips below so we can get a conversation going. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and visit thesimpledollar.com for even more content. I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.